This question a lot about my prison sentence, and I want to talk about that a little bit in this video. And a lot of people ask me why I spent so much time in prison. Why didn't I manifest my way out of prison sooner? And I'm going to tell you why. But first, I got to tell you that I originally began or started with a PBL, punishable by life charge, which was an attempted murder on a law enforcement officer, which I did manifest that down to a lesser, much lesser sentence. And the reason why I didn't manifest my way out of prison completely is because I didn't want to. I didn't desire that. My life, the reason why I went to prison to begin with and why all of that happened, where I went to a nightclub and I got in a fight with these bouncers and I left, crashed my truck. Then I went on a high-speed pursuit, allegedly with police officers. The reason why all of that happened in my life, the reason why all of that happened is because I was essentially committing, mental suicide. That's why all that happened. I was drinking. I was using drugs like on the weekend and I wasn't a big drug addict, but I was an alcoholic and my mind was completely unfocused. I didn't have direction. I didn't have purpose in life. I didn't see a future for myself. And I knew that I needed something, somewhere to go to where I could fix this. I could fix my mind. So I manifested a prison sentence, but no, I didn't believe that I wanted to go there for life. So I manifested my way out just in time. I'm not saying that everyone needs to go to prison in order to fix themselves. I'm just saying that's what I had to go through. That's my story. That's what happened to me. That's what I needed to go through in order to be where I am now. And because my mind was an absolute disaster. And I was drinking. Like I said, I didn't have any purpose in life. I didn't have direction. I didn't know what I was going to do next. My house was going into foreclosure. I was just a disaster. I wasn't grateful and appreciative for my life. And I was just going down the toilet, completely. And it was a mess. And when I was arrested, I manifested my sentence or my charges getting dropped down. And then I was able to bond out of jail by putting my house up for collateral. And then when I got out, my grandfather came here from California, came to Florida to stay with my mother. And that's when I got the interviews with my grandfather. That's when he told me all the stories about with Neville Goddard. And, I already knew that he knew Neville Goddard and they were friends. But I didn't, a lot of the stuff that he shared with me, it was, it's priceless. Those priceless times that I had. And I started developing myself while I was, waiting for trial, to go to trial. Or waiting for the, a plea offer or whatever. But I wasn't really focused on getting out of it. I was never focused on getting out of it. I knew that something had to change, something had to happen. Even though my grandfather was telling me all this stuff, I wasn't getting it. My mind was just too chaotic. There was just too much stuff going on. Even though I quit drinking after that happened, my mind just went to hell. I still couldn't gain focus. And I went to see a psychiatrist and I told him that my mind was just such a mess. I couldn't focus on one thing for a long, my mind was a disaster where I couldn't even focus on something for more than 10 seconds without it going somewhere else. And I couldn't visualize. I couldn't see what I wanted to see in my mind. I couldn't control my feelings or my moods. So they gave me Adderall to help me focus. And then when I started taking the Adderall, it got even worse. And then I went back to him. I said, this stuff's not doing anything. It's not helping me, focus at all. It's making it worse. And they said, well, here, take this Klonopin with it, this sedative. And then I just became like a total zombie after that, where, I was losing my mind even more. I was like, my anxiety levels were through the roof. And then, when I was on the Adderall, my anxiety was through the roof. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind was a disaster. And then I'd take the sedative or whatever. It was like a type of Xanax or something they gave me. Then I would take that. If I took that, then I would become really tired and kind of didn't want to do anything and just sit around, and it's like one or the other. And then I become addicted to that. And then when I didn't have that to wake up to this pill, then I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I feel like crap unless I gotta have this pill as soon as I wake up just to give me a little bit of energy. Then I get anxiety, and then I gotta take this other thing for the anxiety, and then I feel tired again, and then it's like this constant loop of taking these foreign substances outside of myself within the simulation to make myself just get through the day. And I was to the point where I didn't even really want to live anymore. It was miserable. It was horrible. That's why I didn't manifest my way out of prison, because my life was a prison and I didn't know what else to do to get out of it. I didn't even want to live anymore. That was the mindset that I had. But when I went to prison, the first thing that I did was I stopped taking that medication. I mean, you can't even get that medication. I think they gave me some kind of like antidepressant or something at first, but then I got off of that, which was a disaster getting off all that stuff. But I felt so much better after getting off of everything and just exercising my physical body, training my physical mind, meditating, and doing daily routines with physical training, and just getting institutionalized with my mind, being structured, being disciplined, and doing things every single day, getting up, exercising, doing this, going to work, because I had jobs when I was in prison, going to work, doing this, doing that, structured every single day, and just getting my mindset for that, and especially the physical training, but reading books, not jumping on a phone because you don't have them. I mean, they have phones, but you can't just get on your phone and click and talk to people and go meet up with them. So there's no phones, hardly any TV, because you can't even hear the TV. It's way up in the ceiling and it's a little tiny, and everyone's yelling and screaming all the time, so you can't even hear it. So you don't have TV, you don't have a phone, you don't have social media. So what do? You pick up a book, you read it, you meditate. This stuff, that was the thing I looked forward to every day, was to get a new book, or to read this chapter, or to do this exercise, or to meditate, or this. Those are the things I became grateful for, having nothing while I was in prison. And this developed and just designed my mind for success. And I completely reinvented myself, while I was in there. And I do believe that I could have done it without going to prison if I just would have gotten off the alcohol and I wouldn't be taking these medications that I was being given. If I just would have been sober and I just would have started reading books and I would have started meditating and I would have done like the leaf exercise, the reverse course, these different visualizations, and getting off of all that stuff. I believe that I could have done the same thing, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So I had to be put in a place where it was taken from me. And I had no choice, because in prison, you have to do a certain thing in order not to be a target in prison. Because if you're waking up at 5 a.m. and then doing 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 squats, and then you're structured, everything's clean, you make sure everything's clean, your bed's made perfectly, everything's wiped down perfect, and you're this type of person where you're structured, you go to work, you do this, your physical training, you're reading, you're doing this, nobody messes with you. You don't get messed with in prison if you're that type of person. But if you sleep in and lay around and you're dirty, you don't take a shower every day, and your bunk's a mess, you're a target, and you're going to get robbed, and you're going to get jumped, you're going to get beat up, you're going to be a target in prison. So really, you have no choice. In prison, you have to be a certain way in prison in order not to be a target. So I was put in a situation, getting off the drugs, getting off the alcohol, designing my mind, becoming institutionalized, becoming structured, becoming disciplined, disciplining my mind and my body, and just taking it all to the next level. So prison was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it's kind of like a militant, military type environment, really, but it could be more dangerous too, unless of course you're seeing a lot of action, and there's actual war going on. But prison can be much, it's like the same sort of thing, where you got to kind of sleep with one eye open, and you got to do certain things, and there's certain things that you have to do, in order to to survive, in prison. And that was part of my development too, where now I can strategize, my mind works better, I can read people better, I can plan better, just more structured and institutionalized with everything I do. And I got out with that same sort of mindset, and when I saw YouTube, I saw this, I created this, The visualization, everything, that all the facilities in my mind, my focus, my present moment awareness, all the books that I read, all the meditation that I did, all the mental exercise that I did. I have I have designed my mind to where I can focus on one thing for long periods of time. And I got away from social media. I got away from instant gratification. I got away from TV. I got away from the movies. I got away from the world. And when I came back, it was almost like flow state. Just like what I talk about with flow state, like you just landed here on your planet. That's how I felt when I got out. I was a brand new person. I wasn't overthinking anything. Everything that I saw was beautiful. Just being outside with the grass, you can take your shoes off and walk around in the grass and feel the breeze and walk outside anytime you want, get fresh air anytime you want. And you can take a shower with no one else is around in privacy. You can get a pool, you can drive a car, all these different things. You can go to the store and buy food if you want to. All these things were like gold to me. It was just having freedom. Now, so I viewed the world completely different when I got out. I was brand new to the world. I was in flow state. I was magnetic. And that's just what I try to teach. This is what I'm teaching now. And this is why it's so important to develop your mind this way. And you can do this without having to do what I did. And that's what I teach. And that's what I coach on. And that's what my brand is associated with, is everything that I went through. I want to teach you those things to become brand new, to reinvent yourself without having to go through all that. And that's the sacrifice that I made for myself and for the simulation, for everyone within it, everyone within my reality. That's sacrifice. And I believe that that's what the Bible was talking about with Jesus Christ. He sacrificed his life for everyone else. He died for your sins in order so you could see that, so you can live by that and understand and see what he did in order for you to get better. And he sacrificed himself that way. And I believe that symbolic nature of that was a form of what happened to me. And so that's essentially my story. And that's why, in the beginning of this video, I explained that. People asking me why I didn't manifest my way out of prison. There's so much that comes with that. There's so much that comes with that. But the short answer would be because I didn't desire to get out. I was already in prison before I went to prison. That's why I had the only way to change your reality is to change yourself within. When I was free, I was still in prison. When I went to prison, I was in prison. But even when I was out of prison, I was still in prison. You cannot run from yourself. You have to fix yourself within, and then your outside world reflects that change. So never try to attack the world. Attack yourself, the inner world. Change it, develop it. Become more disciplined in your mind. Develop focus. Be grateful. Be gratitude. Be loving. Be caring. Sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the world, and you'll have everything that you desire. Because remember, it's not about you. It's about them. It's about everyone else. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about everyone watching this. It's not about me. And that's what I had to realize in order to find true peace and happiness and fulfillment within myself, because that's the God particle. That's when you connect to consciousness itself, is when you lose your ego. That's when you drop everything and you connect with all source, your highest self, is when you drop the ego and say, you want to know what? It's not about me. It's about everyone else. And then that's what frees you. That's what frees you from all your pain, all your suffering. Just like Charles Hannell said, the germ of defeat is contained within every selfish thought. The germ of defeat is contained within every selfish thought. Release your selfish thoughts and you release your pain and suffering. And essentially that's what I went through, and that's what I learned. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I did. And my grandfather also told me that when I asked him why he didn't manifest his way out of prison. He said because he didn't want to. He said that because it was the same sort of thing in his life. He was on drugs and he was doing this, he was screwing up, and he created a prison outside of prison. So he just was in the same place until he had to fix his own mind, because he went through a lot of different things in his life as it relates to manifestation and drug abuse and different things like that. But ultimately it led me to this moment, and I'm grateful for it. And now I'm able to share this stuff, and that sacrifice, I'm now able to assist thousands and hopefully millions of people. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.